In the summer of 1518, the people of Strasbourg woke up to a nightmare. On the cobblestone streets, a woman stepped out of her home and began to dance. Not gracefully, not joyfully, but frantically, her feet pounding against the ground, her arms flailing, her body drenched in sweat. Hours passed, yet she didn't stop. Days passed, and she was still moving. And then, others joined her. Dozens, hundreds, until nearly the entire city was gripped by a madness no one could explain. This is the story of the dancing plague of 1518, one of history's strangest, most terrifying medical mysteries. A plague not of death, but of dance. It began in July, during a sweltering summer. Strasbourg, then a free city of the Holy Roman Empire, was bustling with merchants, priests, and peasants. On an ordinary day, a woman named Frau Trophia stepped into the narrow streets and began to move. At first, neighbors thought she was mocking someone, or maybe drunk. But the look on her face told another story. She wasn't laughing. She wasn't enjoying it. She looked desperate, almost trapped in her own body. She danced for 6 hours, then 12. Then 24. Exhausted, bruised, barely able to stand, but still moving. By the week's end, over 30 people had joined her. And this was only the beginning. Within a month, more than 400 people in Strasbourg were dancing uncontrollably. Some collapsed from exhaustion. Some broke their ribs. Some died from strokes or heart failure, their bodies giving out after days of relentless movement. But here's the chilling part. This wasn't joyful dancing. Survivors described it as a curse of motion, a violent compulsion to move against their will. Their faces were often twisted in agony. And instead of slowing down the dancers, city authorities made a shocking decision. They believed the only way to cure the afflicted was to let them dance it out. The local council ordered musicians into the streets. They even constructed stages and cleared spaces for the dancers. Fiddlers, drummers, and pipers played night and day, turning the city into an open-air madhouse. Imagine it, hundreds of bodies jerking, twisting, collapsing, while music blared all around them. Some witnesses swore they saw bloodied feet leaving trails on the cobblestones. Others said dancers screamed in terror while their bodies spun uncontrollably. But instead of stopping the plague, the music only fueled it. By late August, Strasbourg was a city in chaos. The epidemic slowly died out by September 1518. Survivors were marched to a shrine of Saint Vitus, where priests prayed over them and sprinkled holy water. Many returned, shaken and scarred, to lives of poverty and fear. But the memory of the plague haunted Europe for centuries. It wasn't the first outbreak of dancing mania. Records show similar episodes occurred in Germany, Switzerland, and even Italy as far back as the 14th century. But Strasbourg's was by far the largest, and the most deadly. For centuries, scholars have struggled to explain what happened. And even today, the dancing plague remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of medical history. Here are the leading theories. Mass hysteria, psychogenic illness. Many historians argue the dancers were victims of a psychological outbreak, mass hysteria triggered by extreme stress. Strasbourg in 1518 was a city plagued by famine, disease, and crushing poverty. People were starving. Some were begging in the streets. Religious fear was everywhere. Sermons warned of God's wrath and demonic punishments. In this environment, perhaps collective anxiety exploded into physical form. The body became the battlefield for the mind. Ergot poisoning. Another popular theory suggests the culprit was ergot, a toxic fungus that grows on damp rye bread. Consuming ergot can cause hallucinations, convulsions, and even death. Interestingly, ergot is the same fungus from which LSD was later derived. Could Strasbourg's dancers have been tripping uncontrollably on contaminated bread? Maybe, but critics argue that ergot usually causes people to become rigid, not dance for days. Religious mania and possession. At the time, many believed the dancers were cursed by Saint Vitus, the patron saint of dancers. Some thought they were being punished by God. Priests conducted exorcisms, and victims were eventually taken to shrines dedicated to Saint Vitus in hopes of deliverance. Political and social control. Some modern scholars argue the plague was exaggerated, or even manipulated, by authorities. By promoting the idea of divine punishment, leaders could tighten control over a desperate population. The dancing plague was more than just a bizarre event. It was a mirror into the human condition. It showed how fragile our minds and bodies are when crushed by fear, famine, and despair. It revealed how belief systems, whether in saints, curses, or demons, can physically shape reality. And it warned us of something deeper. When communities suffer together, they sometimes break together. Collective trauma can create collective madness. In a way, the dancing plague wasn't just about 1518, it was about us. About how humans, when trapped in unbearable circumstances, can explode in the strangest, most haunting ways.